Assalamu alaikum students. Hope all of you are fine today. Today I'm going to discuss a new chapter, chapter number 9, sound. Students, so far the chapters whatever I have discussed, I have given a suggestions to all of you that if you have any queries or doubts after listening my class, then you were asked to call me every night between 8 to 10. But hope you all have understood well, so this is why I didn't get any call from you. Now, today I'm going to start the new chapter. If you have any queries, then please call me between 8 to 9 every night. I shall try my best to clarify all your doubts. Students, as you know, sound is something which we happen to hear every time. In all our waking hours, we are able to listen or hear different types of sound. And amongst all the sounds that we listen, if we go on differentiating, we find that some sounds are pleasant, some sounds are unpleasant, some are shrill, some are bass, some are soft, and some are very loud. So we can say that sounds are of many different types. In this chapter, we're going to learn how these sounds are produced and what characterizes as sound. So before wasting any time, let us begin how sounds are produced. How sounds are produced. If you take a stick in your hand and hit any objects, you are able to listen some sound. If you go and take a bell and hit the bell by taking an object, you are able to hear the ringing of the bell. So likewise, we are able to produce sounds in many different ways. But how this sound is produced? At the time, whenever we take any object and hit the object with a different object, then we are able to listen a sound. But how this sound is produced? It is caused or it is produced due to some of the vibrations. We know that by doing some activities like taking a rubber band, stretching it on a pencil box, if you plug the rubber band, you are able to listen some sound, and you are able to notice some other things that is the vibration of the rubber band. So it is the vibrations which leads to produce the sound. Likewise, we can do many different activities. For example, ringing the bell of a temple, we are able to see the vibration of the bell as well as we are able to hear. Likewise, there are many activities, many different activities that we can do, which helps us to understand that how this sound is produced. So in short, we can say that sound is produced by the to and fro motion of an object. Hope you all have understood. Now, the second thing that we are going to learn is what characterizes a sound. That means, what are the characteristics of a sound? There are three things which tells us that it characterizes a sound. For example, let me tell about loudness. We know that sounds that are produced are of different loudness. Different sounds have different loudness. Some sounds are very low voice. Some sounds are of very loud voice. So sound produced is of very loud voice, then it is one of the quality of the sound. Secondly, we can talk about pitch. Pitch is something, okay, which is related to how the sound is bass or shrill, whether the sound is bass or shrill. For example, you might have seen the traffic police many a times they used to blow a whistle, taking it on their mouth. At the times when they used to see the vehicles are going to pass, to stop the vehicle, they used to blow the whistle. So this whistle, it used to produce a shrill sound. So pitch is related to the sound, whether it is shrill or bass. Likewise, The other thing that we need to learn is regarding the characteristics is the quality. We know that sounds are of many different types. So by listening the sound, we are able to determine what quality of the sound it is. Some sounds are very pleasant to hear. Some sounds are very unpleasant. That means we don't feel like listening the sound. At the time when we hear any loud voice or noise or like thing that is produced by loudspeakers, especially in concert programs, in rock concerts we used to listen some sounds which are very loud and which are not at all pleasant. We can say that unpleasant sounds. So such sounds, when we come to listen, we used to close our ears. So sounds are of many different types. So by listening the sound, we can determine the quality of the sound, how rich or flat a sound it is. Okay, so we're going to discuss one by one of all the characteristics of sound. First of all, we have got the loudness. Okay, it is produced by the vibrating body when the vibrating body depends on how large the vibrations are. So at the time when we want to have a very loud sound, that means what we will help the thing to produce loud sound. It is the vibrations. Okay, the vibrating body, it depends on how large the sound will be. Okay, to be more scientific, we can say that the loudness of a sound, it depends on the amplitude of the vibrations produced by it. That means at the time when we do the activities of the pencil box by stretching it with a rubber band, when we plug the rubber band, if we plug the rubber band harder, we are able to listen loud sound. That means the amplitude of the vibrating body was larger, and due to this the sound produced is large. Okay, so this amplitude of the vibrating body or the vibrations of the vibrating body is the maximum displacement of the body from its position of rest. It is the maximum displacement that is produced by the vibrating body from its position of rest. Okay, likewise the sound, it always depends on how the body vibrates. Okay, the loudness of the sound, it depends on how the body vibrates. If the vibrations produced are more and larger, then we can say that the sound produced would be larger. Okay, let me take another activity. You have heard the bell ringing every time at the time when the periods gets over in your school. So if the peon rings the bell harder, we are able to hear a very loud sound. Yes, definitely. It is because the peon has hit the bell with a large force. So when he has hit the bell with a large force, what happened? The vibrations produced is more, and it used to produce a amplitude having a large distance from its position of rest. Due to this, we are able to hear the sound with a loud voice. So the loudness of a sound always depends on the amplitude of the vibrations produced by the object. Secondly, we shall learn about pitch. The pitch of a sound has to do how shrill or bass a sound it is. A shrill sound like that of a whistle is always of high pitch. Okay, whistles, whenever we blow, we are able to hear very loud sound. That means it is a shrill sound and it is always has a high pitch. Okay, a bass sound, that means the sounds produced by bass drum. When we hit any bass drums, the sounds produced are not that much high. Such sounds are of low pitch. Okay, the pitch of the child's voice is higher than the pitch of an adult's voice. Okay, at the time when a small children cries, we are able to listen the crying of the small child, okay, from a very long distance. But when an adult talks or he calls someone, at that time we are not able to listen the sound of the person from a long distance, but we are able to listen the sound of a child, okay, because it is very much high pitch. Okay, so in the activity of the rubber band, we have seen that sound changes if we keep tightening the rubber band by looping it around one of the pencils. So many a times the musicians at the time when they are in need of producing a high pitched sound, what they used to do is that they used to tighten the string of the musical instrument. Okay, tightening the string of the musical instrument, it helps them to increase the pitch of the sound. Okay, so many a times the musicians, they used to tighten the string of the musical instrument to produce the sounds of high pitch. Okay, and at the time when they are in need of producing sounds of low pitch, they used to loosen the string of the musical instrument. Okay, the pitch of the sound, it depends on the rapidity of its vibrations. The more the vibrations takes place in the musical instrument, the sounds produced in the musical instrument will be of high pitch. And the rapidity of the vibrations is also called the frequency of the vibrations. Frequency of the vibrating body is the number of oscillations it produces in 1 second, or it completes in 1 second. So the SI unit of frequency is nothing but hertz. Okay, it's nothing but hertz. So at the time, if a vibrating body completes 10 vibrations in 1 second, then its frequency would be 10 hertz. So now we are going to discuss the different instruments which helps us to produce sounds in different pitches. For example, the string instruments, guitar, violin, veena, sitar and sarod. These are some of the musical instruments, okay, which has strings and it produces sounds by vibrating the strings of it. The frequency of the sound produced depends on the length, thickness and its tautness. All these string instruments, okay, it produces sound based on the frequency of the thickness, length and tautness of the string. The thicker the string, the sounds produced would be of low pitch. If the string of such instruments are thicker, then the sounds produced would always be of low pitch. But when we find a string is thin, then the sounds produced would be always of high pitch. Now we have got wind instruments. Wind instruments are such instruments, okay, which produces sound by the blowing of air in it. For example, saxophone, clarinet, shennai, flute and all. These are some of the instruments, okay, which works out of wind. We need to blow air inside it. Okay, such instruments are basically hollow pipes, and the musicians, they used to blow air into them to make the air column inside it vibrate. When we blow air inside a flute, what happens? Inside the flute there might be some airs. So when the air is blown inside the flute, what happens? The air column inside the flute, it starts vibrating, and because of the vibrating of the air column inside the flute, what happens? The sound is produced, and the frequency of the sound produced depends on the length of the air column, and it is adjusted with the help of the fingers by touching the holes on the pipes of the on the flute. Nextly, we have got the percussion instruments. So what are percussion instruments? Tabla, mridangam, drums, bongos, all these are some of the percussion instruments, okay, generally have a membrane stretch over a cylindrical body of metal, wood or clay. The toughness of the membrane and its area, it determines the pitch of the sound produced. Okay, that means the more the toughness, the sounds produced would be of high pitch, and the less the pitch toughness, the sounds produced would be of low pitch. Smaller areas and outer membrane produces shrill sound. If the area of the musical instrument, that is percussion instrument, is small and outer membrane, then the sounds produced would be of shrill, that means of high pitch. Now lastly, we have got the last characteristic, that is the quality of the sound. So the quality of the sound, as I have told you earlier, whenever we happen to listen sounds of different types of different instruments or from different sources, we are able to differentiate the sounds, and we determine which sound is pleasant and which sound is unpleasant. Let us take an example of a guitar and a tabla. Definitely, the sounds produced from a guitar would be very much different than the sound produced by a tabla. That means even if the sounds produced are of the same frequency, we are able to distinguish and differentiate very well the sounds produced by the two different instruments, and we are able to determine whether the sound is pleasant or unpleasant. Okay, here we need to learn about the music and the noise under the quality of the sound. When the sound is produced from any music, then we determine that the sound is pleasant and the sound produced is of regular vibrations. And the sound which is produced by a noise is quite unpleasant and it is irregular vibration. It is produced by irregular vibrations. So music and noise can be distinguished or differentiated very well by listening. We can know that which one is a pleasant sound and we can say which one is an unpleasant sound. So here the frequencies of the notes used to produce music. For example, in Indian we say sa re ga ma pa ni sa. So these notes, okay, it is to work or it is to produce, okay, with the same frequency. So as the sounds are produced of the same frequency with the same notes, we can say that it is a pleasant sound. Likewise, the sounds that are produced in Western music, do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, have the same definite relation with each other. So such sounds can be determined as pleasant sounds and be always produced by regular vibrations. Okay, noise pollution. It is another factor which is increasing every now and then. Noise, we know, it is also considered as a kind of pollution. Why? Because it is unpleasant. It is not at all useful. Noise is not only unpleasant to the ears, it also causes stress, anxiety, sleep disturbance, and permanent damage to the hearing. We know that if we happen to stay in a noisy place for 1 to 2 minutes, we start feeling what? Uncomfort. That means it leads us to cause stress, anxiety. We also face problem at the time when we are sleeping. If someone produces sounds and noises, we fail to sleep even. So these are some of the causes which leads due to noise pollution. Okay, it also causes permanent damage to our hearing. We lose our hearing power. It is the loudness of the sound that is relevant in the context of noise pollution or the harmful effects of noise on human health. Even music played very loud can also cause noise pollution. Sometimes the sounds produced in rock concerts are quite louder, which becomes quite unbearable to our ears to hear it. So it can cause permanent damage to our hearings. The loudness of the sound is always measured in decibels. In short, we can write dB. Okay, very loud noise that is produced between 140 to 150, that is produced by when a jet plane takes off, can burst the eardrum, and a noise level of 120 to 140, which is mostly common in rock concerts, can also hurt our hearing power. Even a noise level of 80 to 90 decibels, okay, can also cause damage to our hearing if it is exposed, if our ears are exposed to such noisy areas for long hours. So to help ourselves from such noise pollutions, what we need to do? We need to stop ourselves from going to such rock concerts or from attending such places where noises are produced. And even if we are watching televisions or we are listening music in our homes, then we need to lower down the volume of the television or the speakers that we are using at home. These are some of the things that we can do. And not only this, we can also take up some steps regarding the industries. These industries should always be located away from residential areas. It should be far away from residential areas where no one lives. Okay. Vehicular horns, that means the horns that are produced by vehicles, okay, should be used only when it is necessary. Especially at the time of traffic jams and all, we are able to listen the sounds produced by the vehicle, that means the horns. Okay. At the time when many vehicles produces a sound, at the same time the sound becomes quite unbearable to our ears. So we should avoid such horns. Okay. Machines should be maintained in good condition in a place where industries are set up. Okay. To reduce the industrial noise. If the machines are always looked after and maintained having a good condition, then no much noise would be produced by the machines. And the people working in noisy industries can protect themselves by using ear muffs. If they close their ears using ear muffs, then they may save themselves, or they may save themselves from losing their hearing powers. So my students, hope you all have got my points that I've discussed. If you have any doubts, you please contact me, and the next part of this chapter I shall discuss in my next class. So with this, I end up my class. Thank you. Have a nice day.